Hi guys, I'm going to be telling you where I've been for the last 2 days and how what I was what I've been doing. So let's just get started. I went to the hospital for my surgery and I was really scared. I got there at 6 o'clock on the 12th, which was yesterday. I believe, yes, it was yesterday. And so when we got there, we went all the way up to the third floor of the hospital, and we had to go in this really weird place. It wasn't weird, it was like a waiting room, and then you had to get a number and then sit down. When they called your number, you had to go sign in, and then be over there for a little bit, go back to the waiting room until they called you back. They took you to this room. They asked you what the doctor was going to do for you, like when's your birthday, what's your name. And then they took you back. They gave you a hospital gown and these sock things, they're like socks, but they call them slippers. And then they weighed me and went out, and I changed, put my stuff in my locker bag and my locker thing that they gave me, and then I went out, and then they took me into a different room. They put me in this bed, and then we walked to that room, and then they put me in the bed, and I was there for literally an hour, okay, with a stupid IV in my hand. Well, they put, here, I still have all these marks on me. I have to find it. It was right there, in this, right here. And they had to put numbing cream, and then tape, numbing cream, and then tape. And then they took it off, rubbed this stuff off, took this one off, and rubbed the stuff on. First they did this one, and they did this one, but I didn't have to do two because this one went in fine. And then I was sitting there for a little bit with my grandma and my aunt and my cousin, and I was so scared. I started to cry. I was crying for an hour because I was so scared and I didn't want to go back and get it done. And they gave me these blankets and stuff. So then the room was called the post-op room, where they get you ready for your operation, and I was back there for a while. And then I took I was laying in there, and one of my best friends' aunts worked there, and she said, because she knew I was really scared, she was like, oh, if it makes you feel any better, I'll go back with you until you fall asleep, and then, bam, and by the way, I got my adenoids out, and so when it was finally time to go back there, they put this thing on my head, like a shower thing, where you put on your hair to not get your hair wet, like one of those. And then they took me back to the room. I was even more scared. My heart was going, and they picked me up out of that bed, put me in a different bed on this different operating chair thing. They made me put my arms down to the side, and then they were wrapping me in a whole bunch of blankets, and then put this big strap thing over me so I couldn't move. And they put this mask on my face, and they were take deep breaths, and then it smelled like bubble gum, and I was out. And then they did the operation. I woke up in the recovery room, and I pretty much was just laying there, and then I went to a different room. It wasn't like a recovery room. It was, but it wasn't the same room. And I got like Jello and ice and water, and I was laying in there for like 3 hours, guys. Literally 3 hours. It was bad. It was really bad. And then I got in that room at like 11, and I got out at 2. So that was that was 3 hours. I'm very bad at math. Secret. And so then I finally got to go home. When I got to go home, I changed. They made me go in a wheelchair. It was, ugh. And they took me down, and then I went home. And when I came home, we went to Walmart, got my prescription done, but it took like a half hour, so we went to Sonic, and I got a chocolate milkshake. And then and when we got home, as soon as I stepped 1 foot out of the car, got stung by a bee. Yesterday was the worst day ever. Got stung by a bee, and I was like screaming because it hurt really bad, and because it was one of those big, fat, furry ones, and I like stepped on it on the side of my foot, kind of, and yes, it hurt really bad. So, and then later that day, I took a nap, and at 7, my friend came up, from lives down the road. She came up, she was like, "Oh, are you okay? How do you feel?" And I was like, "I feel fine, and I'm okay. It doesn't hurt real bad." And then we sat on the couch and watched the CMA festival, and she went home at 9, and it was over until 11. And my uncle, he woke me up, and he woke me up, and when I was sleeping, he was like, "Oh, does it hurt?" I was like, No, just let me go back to sleep. And I ate. I can only eat soft stuff, and yeah. So we're gonna end the video now. That was my horrible experience of the hospital, which I would never want to go back to the hospital ever again. Bye, guys.